Hello, this is a guide for my Beira's Anguish Ignite Infernalist. As you can see, it has screen wide clear with one shots for anything but tanky rares and bosses, with roughly 1 million DPS on a budget. This build maximizes fun by not having to combo 5 different moves. Just one click and you set the world on fire. In this video I'll go over the gear, build mechanics, gems and the passive tree. I'll finish off with some tips and tricks on how to tailor the build to your liking. Shout out to Coolerpeon and Kalltorak, who've initially alerted me with their videos on the use of Beira's Anguish unique charm. Put their channel in the description. They're cooking up some really creative builds. Okay, let's get to it. I'll go over the gear first and quickly hover over every item in case you just want to copy them. You can pause if you want. Afterwards I'll explain every item in detail and how it all works together. Okay, the first item. The unique charm Beira's Anguish Dowsing Charm. It's just added in a recent patch, and this one reads: ignite enemies in your presence as though dealing fire damage equal to 500% of your maximum life when used. So we're gonna stack life to deal more damage. Now the thing is, this is only used when you become ignited. So in order to activate this damage, we need to find a way to ignite ourselves. There's not a lot of ways to do that consistently in game yet, however, there's an ascendancy in the Infernalist. It says become ignited when you deal critical hit. So now, when we crit, we become ignited, we activate the charm. Because we're immune to ignite, we're negating the down effect here, and we're also getting some crit damage bonus. That's useful for later on. The thing is, this is now used when you become ignited, but this charm uses charges, so we need to find a way to go around that. Luckily, there's also a new unique body armor, and this one says charms use no charges. So now, anytime we crit, we become ignited, we use the charm, and we don't have to worry about the charges, because we don't even use them. However, there's one more issue. This charm lasts 3 seconds, and unlike PoE 1, with effects like flasks, charms, you can only use them once the previous effect, has run off. So you can only do this every 3 seconds. And that's not good, because you can be killed in 3 seconds if you don't do damage. Luckily there's another unique item, Bijou Born Double Belt. And this one says reduced charm effect duration. Now that's great, because this reduces the time from at its maximum 50%, and you can get higher with a corrupt. It reduces the time from 3 seconds to 1.5. Now if you quality this charm up, the duration is longer, so you definitely don't want to put any quality on here. The belt and the unique chest here, they're basically used for the unique effects, and all the other stats on there, we'll just take them as they are. Now we got one other item that works for this, and this is the Black Flame Amethyst Ring. This one says enemies ignited by you take chaos damage instead of fire damage from ignite. It also reduces the ignite duration and increases the magnitude, so they sort of cancel each other out. But the point is, instead of fire damage, all the enemies in your presence are now gonna take chaos damage instead. Now the wording here is very important. So you're not dealing chaos damage, you're not converting fire damage to chaos damage, you're not hitting the enemies with spells or attacks with fire damage. No, you're doing ignites with fire damage, but the enemies are taking chaos damage. So modifiers like increased chaos damage, they don't help, but increased fire damage does help. This is great because fire damage, there's a lot more resistances in monsters and bosses for fire than for chaos. So it's a much better way to deal damage, and also you can use Despair Now Your Curse instead of Flammability. And you can use the Withered effect, and you see that later in the tree. Other items here are the wand. There's not a lot of traditional stats to help here. Anything that says gain damage as extra fire, cold or lightning or any of that sort adds damage to the charm effect, so that's great. And then you want crit chance is very good, because it helps you deal more crits, and that helps you activate the charm. You don't care about spell levels, skill levels. Intelligence is also very useful. It would probably even be better to maybe remove the, for example, 22% damages extra lightning for increased fire damage instead. But this is the wand I could buy. Then for the helmet, we're just looking for things like maximum life and maximum mana. Maximum mana is useful because we're using Mind Over Matter, so it kind of acts as a life resource. So we're stacking some mana too. Rarity and resistances. On the amulet, we're looking for increased maximum life and flat life, attributes, and resistances. This ring, this one is decent. It has increased fire damage, a bunch of resistances, some attributes, life and mana, and some rarity. Very useful. Then the scepter. This one is very interesting because we need to use an Omen Scepter. The Omen Scepter has the Malice aura. And this one is very good because it applies critical weakness to all the enemies in your presence. Now the thing is, right now, and I'm not sure if GG will fix this, but Beira's Dowsing Charm, it has 0% crit chance, but it can crit. So if you apply Malice to all the enemies, they have critical weakness, which means that Beira's Charm now can crit. And apparently the interaction now is that when it crits, when it can crit, it will always crit. So we can actually scale the damage very high with critical damage bonus. Now other modifiers to look for here are Presence, Area of Effect, Intelligence, quite nice, and Increased Spirit. The more spirit you have, the more auras you can run. Now what you can do is you can pin this item here in the corner, you can click away, and then you can check your Presence Area effect by hovering over Presence. And what you see here is the green circle in front of you, that's my Presence Area effect. So it's basically screen wide. Okay, let's get back to the items. Now for boots, we're just looking for as high movement speed as possible. 35% would be perfect. And then other modifiers to fill up your resistances and as much life, mana and rarity as you can get. We got now an Ox Talisman in here. This increases the Presence Area effect. Also a new item in this patch. And as you know, we're stacking Presence Area effect because that way we got more area that we ignite and it becomes a smoother playstyle. Here on the gloves, we've got life, maximum mana and again resistances. If you want an even better item, you can probably get crit damage bonus on here. Now because this build uses charms, right? We can make good use out of other charms too. So this item, Forsaken Bangle Amethyst Charm, is basically always active because we can constantly activate it whenever we take chaos damage. And this also reads 50% of chaos damage you prevent when hit are recouped as life and mana. So it also gives you chaos resistance and it recoups a little bit over time. So this is a very useful item. And we're also using a stun charm. Because we don't have a lot of ES or health, we get stunned quite a lot. But this one is then immediately used and we can't be stunned. And the good thing about it is we get 375 guard every, let's say, 1.5 seconds that we use it and we get stunned. That's very useful. For flasks, just get a life flask with as much recovery as possible. And for mana the same, because these are both with life and your mana are acting as like effective health pool buffers, so you just want to use them to top them up. A quick look at the jewels. Useful modifiers are crit damage bonus, which scales our damage, increased magnitude of ignite. We can also use increased magnitude of ailments because ignite is an ailment, and obviously we also want to scale Presence Area of Effect. And also find it really useful with these kind of builds to have a source of recover maximum mana, or in this case I have another jewel here. Recover maximum life on kill. This one also has crit damage bonus and Presence Area effect again. And this one has increased magnitude of damaging ailments you inflict with critical hits. So all of these, Presence Area, crit damage bonus, some recovery, and scaling the ignite. So the, let's say, ailment or the ignite magnitude is all super useful. Now, because we're running charms, we got another useful one here. This one gives you immunity to bleeding and it creates consecrated ground on use. And this is very useful for maps where, you know, monsters have 25% chance to bleed you on hit. Very annoying map, but you can use this one to be immune to bleeding. And then this one is maybe useful for mapping, just 50% increased rarity when you kill rare or unique monsters. You probably want to get a little bit more guard on that one. Okay, let's go over our gem setup. We've got Ball Lightning with Inevitable Critical, Pinpoint Critical, Life Tap, and Scatter Shot. We don't care about the damage, so we're just going to do it level 11, that's the minimum. All we care is that we're going to crit enemies, so we deal damage with our charm. That's the way. So we got this one and this one to improve critical. I got about 45% crit chance, and that's enough because it attacks so many monsters. And I also have 3 projectiles instead of 1. I use Life Tap to use life instead of mana for this one. So when we use Mind Over Matter and we're low on mana, we can still cast Ball Lightning. We got Blasphemy with Despair and Temp Chains, Ritualistic Curse, and Magnified Effect. If you got a 6 link, you can also put in Heightened Curse. You can swap it out for example, something like Magnified Effect. You can also use Enfeeble or Temp Chains to reduce the damage of monsters instead of slowing them down. This is also very good for bossing. Elemental Conflux. This basically increases the damage of a random element, either fire, cold or lightning, every 8 seconds. So you see it ticking down here. You can now got Cold Flux, so you deal more cold damage. When it's active for fire, you get 71% more damage, and you basically get it a third of the time. You can scale this with Cold Mastery, Lightning, and Fire Mastery for +3 spell skill levels. Then we got Mana Remnants for quality of life. We got that with Magnetism, so we can pick up the remnants easier. We got Cannibalism for another source of max life recovery on kill. And Vitality for another passive source of life recovery per second. These are just very useful when you're mapping. Now we're dealing chaos damage, so we're using Withering Presence with Persistence, so the stacks last longer on the monsters, we can stack them up higher, and Chaos Mastery for +1 skill level. The higher skill level Withering Presence is, the shorter time between adding stacks to the monsters, so in essence you can get a little more damage off. Okay, now let's have a look in the passive tree. Let's look at the ascendancies first. Obviously we got Grinning Immolation here to deal crits so we can ignite ourselves. Then we got Bringer Flame. This is useful because now the added damage on our wand contributes to ignite magnitude also, so that's very nice. And then we got Altered Flesh here. Just converts a couple of damage sources that we got to other ones that we can take. There's not a lot of other good ascendancies here that we can take, so we're just taking 3% maximum life and 3% maximum life, which in the end does contribute to a little bit of defense and damage. You can alternatively, for example, take the Loyal Hellhound, slot a couple of support gems in here, the one that maybe removes 10% from your damage and puts it on your pet, and that way you get a little bit more of a defensive setup, but I personally prefer the life nodes. Then there's not a lot on the tree that we're interested in. We just want to stack as much strength as possible, because strength gives us life, which means damage, as long as we can satisfy the intelligence and dex requirements for our gear. Now here, we got a cluster here with some fire damage. This is mainly dealt around the speed of the ignite, so damage quicker, magnitude of the ignite, and extra damage is fire. We got some resistance node here that's useful. This one for double curses, so in Blasphemy we can run Despair and Temp Chains. Then this one is good because it increases the effect of Withered, so that way we can do more damage. What do we got here? We're taking these crit damage nodes here, crit damage nodes here, and crit here. We're just literally pathing around the tree to get as many jewel sockets as possible, and other good nodes on the way like crit damage. We got some presence area of effect nodes here, and some spirit nodes, quite useful. We got some increased damage here, elemental damage or fire damage, that helps us scale. We got Mind Over Matter, because that way we got another effective health pool resource in our mana. And then we're pathing down here, grab this jewel socket, path to that jewel socket. We take some more damage right here. We got some presence area effect right here, and crit damage here. So basically the idea is we path around the tree, grab effective nodes that scale our damage, or a presence area effect. If you want, later on you can go for a more defensive setup, maybe go for some block chance nodes right here. And there's also some more damage nodes right here. Alternatively, gear wise, you can also equip a shield and go for a big fat max block chance, get a lot of life on your shield. However, you do lose a lot of damage because you don't have the malice presence area effect, so crit weakness, and you lose the spirit on your scepter, and again presence area effect. You can counteract that with maybe this helm, increases presence area effect. However, it's definitely a trade between damage and survivability. If you want to push the higher levels like 94, 95, this might be an option. Another good helmet that you can probably combine with that then is Elvis Howl. However, it's right now about 36 to find, so out of my budget. This one is amazing because it gives you another 100 spirit for more auras, and it doubles your presence area effect. So you're literally off-screening monsters 2 screens away. Then there's also another unique jewel, it's called Grand Spectrum, I believe. That one gives you 2% max life per Grand Spectrum. You can equip 3 of them, so that's 80% max life for more survivability and damage. Very nice, but also about 9 divines each right now. And again, not in my budget yet. So that's it from me for now. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you want to see follow-ups to the build or other build guides and PoE content, then subscribe to the channel. I have a link to the POB and other guides in the description. The gameplay is super smooth and fun, so I'll leave you with a map showcase so you can get an idea of what a build looks like, how it plays, and if it would be something that you're interested in playing yourself. Yeah, thanks for watching.
Sail